I think there's no question that we're probably coming off a bit of a bottom. There was a correction, I would suggest, from 2009 to about 2013, where markets had come out of what I would consider a depressed state and got a little frothy. I mean, I think commodity prices drove it. And now, with commodity prices having fallen, the market's digested some adjustments. And I think we're going to see some nice organic growth over the next number of years. So I think the ground's fertile. You're going to be careful about what markets you're in. I think it's probably best in commercial, retail, and industrial. Residential, I think, is going to be a little challenged for probably the next year or two, but with continued growth and influx of immigration, I think that market will be sound in a year or two from now.
Well, I don't think the economy is as strong in Saskatchewan now as we would like to see it. So I would say that that's an overriding factor. Something that I would really like to see happen so that we do have conditions for growth in Saskatoon and Regina is I would like there to be better access to the cities with better air transportation. I'd like to see U.S. Customs come into Saskatchewan. I'd like to see more nonstop flights because it's not just wouldn't just be taking money out, it'll be bringing money back. So I think that if we really want to compete on an international level, I think that that's critical to the cities. I think we've been trying to get that for a few years. I think we have to try harder. So I believe that's really important. In terms of the preconditions to growth, the governments, the civic governments in Saskatoon and Regina, municipal governments, need to be sure that they create an even playing field with regulations. It's one thing to have regulations, and I'm not in favor of an excess amount of regulation. The less regulation, the better. But when they are there, they have to be applied fairly. And I think the other really critical piece is that once a city says what the plan is going to be, they do studies and they come up with a plan, an area plan, they should do all of their homework and their due diligence before to deal with objections from stakeholders, because once that plan is published, developers should be able to rely on it. And if they can't, and they go for zoning that's compliant with the plan or rezoning, and they can't get it, they start hitting roadblocks because someone objected. That's very hard for developers, and they come away. It costs them money because there are delays. It's frustrating because we're always trying to plan 2 years ahead, at least in the development business. And it also leaves a bad taste in their mouth about the city. So I would just say to the Saskatoon and Regina city administrations, when you put a plan out there for the neighborhood, please be sure that there aren't going to be roadblocks to having developers follow that plan. They want to be able to rely on it.
I don't know that I'd see preconditions. I think what both markets need to focus on is making investment and making employment attractive. And what I mean by that is basically incentivizing business to come to these smaller markets, in whether that's through some form of tax relief where it doesn't go back to the shareholders, but it goes back into innovation and R&D and creates jobs within these marketplaces. I think those are the things that will make a difference in both Saskatchewan cities.
I'd like to be more optimistic, but as we heard this morning, Saskatchewan is a trade and export dependent economy. And that's just a reality. And our major commodities of oil, gas, potash, grains, and in particular canola right now are still experiencing pricing pressures. And that translates in the real estate world to the demand for bricks and mortar, consumer spending, retail spending, and whether or not people need office space and industrial space. And unfortunately, right now, all those indicators are pointing to a direction of flat for 2019.